Hello everyone, my name is Kiani Altmulder and I will be demonstrating some stretches for the posterior chain and for the hip flexors. First, let's begin with the proximal hamstring stretch. In order to perform this stretch, begin with the patient lying flat on their back in an anatomical position. Then begin flexing the working patient's leg while ensuring that they keep their knee fully extended. Furthermore, ensure that the patient's movements are staying within the sagittal plane, and through flexion of the hips and extension of the knee, this will allow for the proximal hamstring to be stretched. The next stretch that I will demonstrate is the calf stretch. This stretch is similar to the proximal hamstring stretch, however, we add dorsiflexion to the working leg. Flex the patient's working leg while keeping the knee fully extended. Then, once the working leg reaches its maximum range of motion, dorsiflex the foot to stretch the calf while also ensuring that the movement stays within the sagittal plane. The dorsiflexion portion of the exercise is the joint action responsible for stretching the calf. The next stretch that I will demonstrate is the distal hamstring stretch. To perform this stretch, begin with the patient lying flat on their back in an anatomical position. Then begin to flex the knee and the hip of the working leg as far as possible while ensuring all movements remain in the sagittal plane. Furthermore, place your hand on the anterior aspect of the knee to ensure that it remains flexed. The distal hamstring is being stretched through the flexion of the knee and the hip. The next two stretches will now focus on the hip flexors. This stretch will specifically focus on the stretching of the iliopsoas. To perform this stretch, begin by starting in a kneeling lunge position, then stabilize the trunk by using a posterior pelvic tilt to increase the extension of the hip. Lastly, slightly lean forward to lengthen the iliopsoas muscle. This stretch focuses on the iliopsoas due to the posterior pelvic tilt and hip extension required for the movement. The last stretch for the hip flexors focuses more on the rectus femoris, which crosses at the hip and the knee. To perform this stretch, begin by starting in a kneeling lunge position. Then tuck the pelvis and squeeze the glute muscles as you grab the back of the foot and flex the knee of the working leg. Then begin to shift the weight forward to maximize the stretch. This works the rectus femoris through hip extension and knee flexion of the working leg. Thank you for listening to my demonstration and have a good one.